I was born in Bradford and brought up in a really, really loving Christian family. I always describe my childhood as a bit of a bubble, really, like a happy bubble, because I just never faced any adversity. I left school at 16 and started working straight away. Drinking during and after work was quite a big part of that. Every lunchtime going out and having 5 or 6 pints, and then at night just drinking kind of throughout the night, really. I got married when we were 21 to a girl that I'd started dating when I was 18. It was around that sort of time, 21, 22, that I started to really see that alcohol had a bit more of a grip on me than I would have wanted it to. You know, I started off trying to stop for a month and I'd last a day. I knew from 21, 22 that I had a problem that was getting worse and worse, but I just didn't do anything about it. I lied to everyone in my world. I covered up virtually everything for my wife. And I remember going to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting in 2006 where a guy said to me, your life might be going okay now and you might be functioning okay now, but at some point there's just going to be a time when the slope suddenly steepens. I kind of brushed that aside, but in 2008 my life became that steep slope. I used to fall asleep at the side of my little boy Zane's bed. I'd pass out or I'd black out and wake up in the early hours of the morning covered in sick or whatever. And I just remember thinking, this is not the story I want to be living. I woke up one morning just kind of bolt upright in my bed and looked at my wife and said, I've got a real problem with alcohol. I went through a lot of guilt and remorse because of the amount of driving I did. I'd be drunk or drinking 95% of the time, and then I'd wake up in the mornings and be so regretful for everything I'd done and think, you know, what if I'd hit a kid? What if I'd hit a family in a car? It's so difficult walking through life with an addiction because you just feel like you're kind of vermin, and the more you feel like that, the more you kind of use or drink. And we struggled with that for about another 8 months before we came clean to the rest of my extended family, the extent of my drinking. And one day I just had enough and I sent everyone an email and said, this is the reality of it, I need help. I went down to a rehab in 2009, which was a secular rehab, so a non-Christian organisation. I left after 2 weeks of a 4-week programme, and I convinced myself when I left there that I was cured. The minute I got dropped off at the train station by that rehab, I walked straight around the corner into the first pub, and within about 4 hours I was back to where I was. I ended up homeless for a couple of nights while my kind of wife wouldn't take me back because of what I'd done to her, so I slept in Leeds station, and began to see that this middle class guy could really quickly become someone living on the streets. I really became aware that I'd completely broken my wife's heart. Every day I could see a little bit more of it kind of being chipped away. I needed to reconnect with God, but I knew that was a long way away. I'd walked so far away. And then I ran into John. My mum and dad kind of hooked me up and kind of threw me at John like, this is your last chance, this guy can help you. And we just sat down and kind of got to the point where there was nothing else to do but to do something pretty radical. And that's when in June 2009 I entered Teen Challenge. I went down there knowing not only was I not going to see my family for kind of like at least 5 months, but also I was going to miss the birth of my second child. What that time away does is it takes away all the distractions, so it takes away all the noise that's in your life. I read a quote by a guy called Smith Wigglesworth that was, a man is in a great place when he's got no one to turn to except God. And as you do that, it's like a partnership with God, that if you start walking in that direction, you're making a practical step towards that, and then God can meet you there and God can do really powerful things, but it's always got to start with you. I completed the programme down at Teen Challenge. I saw my wife just twice over the year, and my mum and dad twice over the year. So I've been dry 4 years. My life has just flipped completely on its head since that time. Your addiction doesn't have to be the end of your story. It can very much be the start of your story. Begin to connect with people. Connect with the people that run this website. Connect with John Edwards. Connect with the Walking Free Vision. And you can get out of it without any shackles on you at all. You can get out of it into true recovery and into true freedom. My life's got such a peace surrounding it now. I'll never understand why I had to become an alcoholic, why I had to go through this, but I do understand that God's bigger than it all, and God can take the messiest situations and can make them truly beautiful. And my life now is truly beautiful, and it wouldn't have been that if it weren't for God.